Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dynasty After Dark. We're your hosts, Calvin Timms and Dale Terry. You can hit us up on X at TDC_Calvin and at Dynasty_Dale. And you can find the Dynasty After Dark podcast on X at FF After Dark. You can find us over on YouTube, Spotify, Google, Apple, anywhere that podcasts are found. If you're looking for video, we're on Rumble, we're on YouTube, so you can go check out our ugly mugs over there if you want to. But it's just the Dynasty After Dark YouTube or Rumble channel if you're looking for us over there. And if you're just looking for our melodious voices, you can find us everywhere else, I guess, as well. That said, we're going to be jumping into our final rookie rankings here today. We're going to split it up into two episodes. Today we're going to be talking about the quarterbacks and the running backs. Next time we're going to be talking about the receivers and the tight ends. There's been a lot since the after draft. I think we waited about a week until after the draft to give our post-draft rankings on these guys. And if you've been following us all offseason with these rookies, we had right after the college season, we ranked all these guys, put all these guys out there. Then post-combine, we updated it and shifted these guys. Then we did it again post-draft. And this is going to be the final one because we've now had a preseason to see how these guys are shaking out. These guys that are living up to the hype in the draft capital and the guys that are kind of disappointing as well. So we've updated our tiers. We're going to talk through them quickly. Before we do that, though, Dale, how are we doing today?
I'm doing pretty well. I'm just excited for some football. Starting this Saturday is college football season, which I love college football. So, that's obviously where all the NFL players start is the college ranks. So, I'm excited for that to start, and I'm just ready to get going and to actually have some real life meaningful games.
Fair enough. And are you excited for Pee Wee football too? Because I'm pretty sure all these college guys start in Pee Wee too, Dale.
That is very true. Like, it's week 3 in the high school football season here in Ohio. Here we go.
Yep,
I'm game for that too. Can't wait. I don't care, man. I'm just ready for it.
That one school over there, they've got a really big guy that just dominates everything because he's 500 pounds.
Absolutely.
Welcome to high school, boys. Let's go. All right. So that's it. Well, let's jump into our final tiers here. And the reason why really quickly we do tiers is because it's basically we're okay with any of these guys. If anybody in this tier falls to us, we're going to take them, and we're not going to feel sad about it or like we're missing out. Like, I'm okay getting either one of these top 2 quarterbacks. Obviously you kind of rank them in the tiers, which is fine, and you have a preference in the tier. That's totally normal. But the reason why the tier drafting is so valuable is because you kind of know where that break is and where to kind of target guys in a tier that if you're not getting one of them, you're going to be, in my opinion, or Dale's opinion, missing out pretty big on those guys. So top 2 for me, it's still Anthony Richardson and CJ Stroud. No change there. Any difference from you? I think both of these guys have shown a lot of promise. CJ Stroud had a nasty touchdown in week 3 of the preseason.
He did. Yeah. So I'm excited for both these guys. I actually have these guys flip-flopped in my rankings.
Okay.
I'm looking a little bit further down the road.
Fair.
How I'm looking
right, and Richardson is more of a rushing threat in year 1. So
yes,
fair enough.
Yes. I think if you're more win now, you want Richardson. If you're looking more long term, I would go Stroud's. But I think either one is going to be pretty solid in the next year or two.
Yeah, I'm with you there. Then we have a little bit of a tier break between those two and Bryce Young. Now, you're not seeing that in most of your Superflex drafts as it is.
Absolutely
so,
not.
Bryce Young is going right behind Anthony Richardson still in a lot of drafts. And he's had a couple of good throws, but again, I've just not liked what I've seen from Bryce Young out on the preseason. And he's just so small, man. That offensive line is bad. The weapons are bad.
Is small. Yeah, I will say that he played a lot better this last week, which I think is a better indication because I feel more starters play week 3.
Right.
So I think he's gonna be okay, but I would much rather have Stroud and Richardson.
Fair. And the reason why I'm still a little worried is he didn't look great against better players, but it's also still very vanilla systems as well. So,
100%.
It's just concerning, but we'll see how it goes. I think Bryce Young will be fine, but maybe not the fantasy superstar. Again, to bang on that drum for the millionth time. Now, a little bit of, well, not even a little bit. I think there's a pretty big tier gap here between tier 2, Bryce Young, and tier 3. You know, between 1 and 2, like CJ Stroud and Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young, the gap there, you're talking like maybe 2-3 players that are going to fit in that gap. It's very, very small. You know, I'm taking Bryce Young over guys like probably Jordan Addison, Zay Flowers, those type of players, Dalton Kincaid. I'm still taking Bryce Young over those guys, but I'm taking Quentin Johnston, JSN, you know, Jahmyr Gibbs, these type of players ahead of Bryce Young in a superflex draft. So it's a very small gap. It's a much, much larger gap between 2 and 3, which is, for me, it's going to be Hendon Hooker with Detroit, Will Levis with Tennessee, and then Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He's a big jump up. We did not even have him ranked in our top couple of tiers after the draft.
I will say I did, but
yeah, fair enough.
I was more on the DTR train in the beginning than you.
That's
were.
Fair. And he's balled out, man. In preseason, he has
fantastic.
played. He played so well that the Arizona Cardinals traded a 5th-round pick for Joshua Dobbs from the Cleveland Browns because they wanted to cut this guy, and you know, Arizona wanted a new quarterback for their team. So DTR has been amazing, and if anything happens with Deshaun Watson, I think the DTR has a very clear path. So a must stash, but I think that there's a little bit of he's definitely stifled right now long term because I think that it requires Deshaun Watson to not get back to form or an injury, a long sustained injury. So it's a little bit of a rocky road, but the dude has definitely balled out so far. Kind of like, think of Jalen Hurts on the Eagles his rookie year, right? That's kind of what we're looking at.
And I agree with that.
How's your tier 3?
In tier 3 for me, it's Will Levis and Hendon Hooker. You know, I feel those guys have the best chance to start, you know, in the next year or so.
Fair.
So, I mean, I love DTR. He's just in my tier 4 with Aiden O'Connell as well.
Okay.
You know, I think these guys are more stash guys, and you know, probably more like, you know, like a 3rd-round pick, and you know, it's just a flyer that you're going to take, and these guys may start, but I don't project them starting this year, and then if they start next year, I don't think it's going to be for very long and have a whole lot of success.
Right. And, you know, Aiden O'Connell, he's in my tier 4 as well. He's a big riser, just like DTR.
Yes.
He played out of his mind just the same as DTR did. The only difference is I think that DTR has a little bit more fantasy relevance than Aiden O'Connell, personally.
Does. 100%,
he's got a lot more mobility. Yeah. Yes. So that's why I have him at the bottom of tier 3. But, you know, I'm with you. The gap between him and Aiden O'Connell is very, very small, in my opinion. And then, of course, I still have Stetson Bennett in my tier 4, who you hate, but you know, and he's my
garbage.
number 8 guy
garbage.
here. Yeah,
I don't care.
Your hatred is
garbage.
Your hatred is out of control, man.
It's I would much rather have like Jeff Driscoll than Stetson Bennett. I feel at least he can play. And he's a starting quarterback. You know, it's compared to Stetson Bennett, who is a used car salesman.
If you disagree with Dale like I do, let us know down in the comments. You can tell tell Dale how wrong he is down in the comments. Hit him up and just let him know. But no, Stetson Bennett, he had a couple of good games in the preseason. This last one was not the greatest. He had nobody to throw to, though. Like, he was playing with 4th stringers. The Rams are not risking anybody to injury right now.
I don't blame him.
Right. And Stetson Bennett, again, I don't think he's going to be a starter. Like, I do think that DTR and Aiden O'Connell, they have, if Jimmy Garoppolo or Watson went down, they have long-term startability compared to Stetson Bennett, who I think is always going to be a career backup, but I think he's a good handcuff. He's like a Jacoby Brissett. He just makes you feel a little bit safer having him on your bench. So that's my opinion. Dale disagrees, but there's our top 4 tiers of quarterbacks. The biggest change, you know, not much movement from before. Still had basically all the same guys in the same tiers. Just had DTR jump up, Stetson Bennett Aiden O'Connell jump up as well for me. And Dale, I think you're pretty much the same, right? Did anybody shift tiers for you?
No, I think I had Bryce Young in my tier 1 with Stroud and Richardson. I moved him down. I feel there's just a bigger gap between those guys.
Yeah. Yep.
Is the biggest thing, and then I think I moved Hendon Hooker down with Will Levis. I think I switched
Okay.
those guys. But
Okay.
other than that, everybody stayed pretty well the same.
Yeah, and that's what we kind of expected. CJ Stroud, I think he's going to be the steal of the century because people were so down on him. Oh my gosh. And the way his pinpoint accuracy has showed out in the preseason so far, it's beautiful. I love it. Yes. I love it. All right, let's jump over to our running backs here, and we're going to talk about some of these guys. This is where I think the biggest movers, risers, and fallers has kind of been, in my opinion. 100%. Now, before, obviously, Bijan Robinson was kind of in a tier of his own. Post-draft, wasn't completely up to speed on the Gibbs hype. I've kind of combined those two into one tier. I'm okay with either one of them, to be honest with you. Yep. Obviously, I would still love Bijan, and he's going to be the more expensive one. But Gibbs has jumped up to a top 5 Dynasty running back, just like Bijan. Bijan's the number 1. Maybe a little silly putting him as the number 1. Like, if you're trading for Bijan, you're trading for him at his absolute ceiling. There's nowhere he can go. He can't go up.
I think that's true.
He's the most expensive running back you can buy. He cannot go up.
Well, I think in draft price he could. I mean, like trading price, he could go up.
True, but still, it's just it's insanely expensive. It is. He should be very good. His couple of runs in the preseason looked very good, and I think he's going to be a very good player. All the camp hype justifies that. Jahmyr Gibbs, I think he is going to be a superstar for fantasy football, and that's why I've kind of closed the gap there between these guys, put them in one tier. His pass catching work is going to be nuts, especially with and I think at the time of the post draft, Jameson Williams wasn't suspended at that time, so a lot has changed since then. So you'll love to see it for sure. He's going to have a lot of opportunity early. Yeah, no, I agree, and I think with Gibbs, the only thing I'm worried about is actually David Montgomery. I think he's going to take touchdowns away, right?
Yeah, he's going to take away touchdowns and just touches away from him.
True. The pass catching, right? That's where.
Yeah, it's the pass catching, right. And I do understand that Tyler Algier is going to take some touches away and some touchdowns away from Bijan, but
sure,
I think Bijan is just.
He's too special.
Much more talented. He's just that much more talented than Algier compared to. I feel the gap is a little bit closer compared to Gibbs to Montgomery. It's Gibbs and Montgomery. So. Yep, and this is where the biggest change was for me after the draft, right? So previously in my tier 3, now it's tier 2 because Gibbs and Bijan have kind of combined here. I had Kendre Miller and Tajay Spears, just those two guys. I've actually kind of changed it a little bit. I have Kendre Miller still as the top of this tier. I still love the talent, and people are finally starting to catch up on this guy. You'll love to see that. Again, we're so far ahead of people on some of the stuff. It's crazy that people are finally catching up. I had Tank Bigsby and Zach Charbonnet one tier down, just a slight tier break because of who was ahead of them. Tank Bigsby and Charbonnet have both balled out this preseason and made everything out of their opportunities. Obviously, Charbonnet, he kind of relied on the Kenneth Walker injury that kind of gave him that opportunity, but that's what it is in the running back game, right? All you need is one opportunity these guys can show out, and I think that because of that, he showed what he has, and that has supplanted him to a much higher workload than he was originally going to have, right? And I think that that's the reason why. So he's jumped up right behind Kendre Miller for me, and then right behind him, and this is a coin flip between these two guys, Tank Bigsby with Jacksonville is right there as my number 5 guy. He has just balled out, man. He has been so. All you hear out of Jacksonville is how good this guy's been, how good he's been in all the preseason games. Yes. I'm really scared because if you remember who was the Denver back from a couple years ago, you know who I'm talking about. Philip Lindsay, is that
no. Royce Freeman. You remember
Royce Freeman?
You remember how he had high draft capital and he balled out in the preseason and then he disappeared. That's what I'm afraid of Tank Bigsby doing, but I think he's much better.
That's fair. Yes, right? No, I agree. And I honestly feel for Bigsby that he like I think he is going to be Mr. Steal Your Job to Travis Etienne.
Yeah.
In my opinion, I think he's going to take Etienne's job.
Yeah,
I really
it's possible.
I
it's
really
100% possible.
I think he's legit. Like, he's the biggest mover for me. Like, he was in tier 4. Now he's up to tier 2 for me.
Okay. So who's your tier 2 then? Who else is in your tier 2?
I have Kendre Miller, Bigsby, and Zach Charbonnet. I do like Tajay Spears, but I think I'm just worried about his knees.
Yeah, that plus Henry,
I'm worried
right?
about that. I'm worried about that and Derrick Henry. And
this offense kind of scares me a little bit as well. Like the offensive line 100%. Has been a little bit rough so far through preseason. You know, I don't know if they're playing all their starters or not, but the offensive line scares me a little bit. Derrick Henry's going to get most of the work still, but Tajay Spears has played very well. I just think that his opportunity this year is going to be a little bit lower.
Is going to be limited.
Yeah, and that's where I'm with you. I think Kendre Miller has shown out well enough. I think Charbonnet has shown out well enough, and Bigsby. All three of these guys have shown enough in year one that they're going to cement themselves to a decent amount of workload. Where Tajay, he's just going to have to compete with Derrick Henry a little bit. He's going to be vultured a lot more from Derrick Henry. So you had Kendre, Charbonnet, and Bigsby, you said, in your tier 2? What about your tier 3? Who do you have in that one?
In my 3, I have Spears and Devon A-Chain.
Okay, I think just those two?
I mean, yes, I just have those two. I think A-Chain's going to be really interesting. Like,
not when he competes with Jonathan Taylor.
That's true, which I sure hope so. As a Dolphin fan, I hope that.
Yeah,
but,
man.
You know, I'm just basing it off.
I think it's going to happen, by the way, 100%.
Yeah, I wouldn't be shocked. But I'm just basing it off today.
Sure.
So, you know, I mean, it's
August 28th. Yep. So
it's August 28th. So I'm basing
when
it
you
off
guys
today.
are listening to this, you know, this is the final cut down day. This is when Irsay gave Jonathan Taylor his deadline to have it done by today. So we'll find out by the time you're listening to this, the JT news will be out, and I'll be putting out a video tomorrow, kind of breaking down the implications of that for wherever he goes, whether it's back to Indy, Miami, or, you know, mystery third team or whoever it might be. Right. But yeah, as of right now, he's still a Colt, so A-Chain has a lot of opportunity.
Yeah. So yeah, I think he's gonna be interesting. I mean, the shoulder injury is concerning, but I don't think it's gonna be a major injury.
Right.
So I think it's gonna take him a good half of the year to potentially take over this backfield.
Yeah, and he's just so small that the workload is what scares me a little bit.
He is, and I understand that, but like, you're also dealing with other broken running backs.
Fair. So that is fair.
So you know, I mean, if he's leading them in touches at like 15 a game,
right?
Like, he's the back I want in Miami.
Yeah, so, if he can get double-digit touches, if he can get double-digit, that's key. That's huge. Like, I just don't 100%. Know if I believe that, but at the same time, my tier 3 is the same as yours so far. Tajay Spears, Devon A-Chain. I actually have Roshan Johnson in this tier as well. Roshan was a little bit of a riser, you know, post draft. He was in my tier 5 all the way down at 12. He's jumped up to 8. I think that he's shown really, really well in Chicago. Chicago came out and said that they're not going to go after Jonathan Taylor. Now, again, we'll see how that goes.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Right. But, you know, Khalil Herbert has been very good. Don't get me wrong. And I think that Khalil Herbert's going to be very good. But Roshan Johnson has been dominant through the preseason. He's been very efficient. He's had a lot of usage as well. And they've utilized him in the passing game as well. So, you know, I think that this guy has a lot of opportunity. And, you know, he was a 4th round pick. I don't really care about a round 4 pick. Like, if you're picking at 3-1, okay, and you take him very high in the 4th round, it's essentially a 3rd round pick. Who cares? Like, who cares about 5 picks? Like, all of a sudden 5 picks makes your model work a lot better. I don't care. So I think that Roshan has a lot of potential that he can cement himself in this offense as the number 1 guy. And, you know, we'll see what he can do. I think that for sure he's going to beat out Deonta Foreman, though, by middle season.
Well, then that's what I'm worried about is that they have someone who's established and then have someone that they paid money to.
Right.
So, you know, I think it's going to, I'm a little bit like, I have him ranked at 9, so it's not too far off of you. But, you know, I think I'm a little hesitant because of what's going to happen and what's going to happen in front of him, because he does have those players to go over.
Right. Yep. And yeah, there's a lot of question marks around Roshan, but for me, I like what I've seen so far, and that's why I'm moving him up a little bit here to my tier number 3. Tier 4. for me, and I think it's going to be similar. So you had a tier break after Achane, right? And now you've got a new tier. Sean Tucker is number 9, top of this tier for me. He's been interesting. Israel Abanikanda, loved him pre-draft, and he was my number 6 running back pre-draft, going all the way back. Crazy how talented this guy is. He's balled out so far in preseason for the Jets. Got a little bit banged up in the second to last preseason game. So, you like to see that it wasn't anything serious. He's going to be able to work his way back, but it's a very crowded backfield there in New York. They've got Dalvin Cook, Breece Hall, Michael Carter, and then Israel Abanikanda. I think he's going to be the number 4 there. But Dalvin Cook's a 1-year deal, I believe, right? Or maybe it was a 2-year deal.
Yeah. I think it's just a 1-year deal.
Okay, and then I think that Michael Carter next year is a free agent, or he's in the final year of his contract. I could see them leaning more towards Abanikanda next year, and he's more of a stash play. And I think that the talent that he's shown and everything you hear about this guy out of Jets camp has been very positive. So Sean Tucker, Abanikanda, and then the last 2 here are going to be Evan Hall out of Indianapolis for me, and that's mostly due to the Jonathan Taylor news. I think that could have big implications there. And then Chase Brown out of Cincinnati, again, he's 1 injury away from potentially having a starter's carry workload, right? So these 2 guys are also in this tier 4 for me. How about you?
I have Sean Tucker. I have Sean Tucker at the top because I think he has a very good chance of supplanting it's Rachaad White, because I don't feel. I mean, the Bucs last year were so inefficient on offense, and I think they're going to be inefficient again. It's to be honest, because their center got hurt recently. I think he's out for the season. He's out.
I think he's going to retire, is what I've heard. Actually, he's done for his career.
So it is not looking good for their offensive line again. So I really think Sean Tucker has the potential to be that guy, and I feel he's more gifted than Rachaad White, even though he didn't get drafted.
Yep, and he only fell in the draft due to the injury, right? So now he's finally healthy, kind of balling out.
Yeah, it was that and some heart concerns. So they were worried about that. So so I have Tucker, Rojo. I do have Chase Brown ahead of Abanikanda, only because I feel Chase Brown has the highest likelihood of having any action this year, but I don't think it's going to be a lot, and I think he's going to be 3rd on the depth chart from what I've been hearing. So I'm kind of more and more hands off on Chase Brown. And then I have Evan Hall, only because of the Indy situation, and then at the bottom I had to add everybody's favorite, Deuce Vaughn.
Oh yeah, Deuce Vaughn, Deuce.
I couldn't resist to talk about Deuce Vaughn. A big old Deuce. It's probably as big as he is.
Yeah, he'd be in this tier for me, I guess. I only did top 12, but yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, I also have him at 13th. So I feel he's someone that you could draft him in the 4th round, and he could be something, or he could be literally a throwaway pick, and that's perfectly okay.
Yep,
I'm more than okay with that at that point.
Yeah, and that's where the biggest preseason, post-draft, whatever you want to call it. That's where I think the biggest mover, we haven't really talked about him much, is Zach Evans. A lot of people had him as their number 1, number 2 guy, competing with Bijan way back before the combine, and it has been a rough ride for him ever since. I think he was a 5th-round pick to the Rams.
Yes.
And he's not even top 12, 13. I'd take Deuce Vaughn over over Zach Evans right now, and it's just been a rough decline for him. So unfortunately, he's not made it up there. But yeah, it's just been a steady decline for this guy ever since. And you're kind of seeing that out of camp. You haven't heard any type of excitement about him out of Rams, right? So no spark, nothing. So unfortunate, but, it is how it is. So, we tried to warn you a little bit. We were never that high on him way back when. Never really saw what everyone else saw in him, but, maybe we're decent scouters. I think that's probably our biggest strengths, but...
Maybe.
All right, so yeah, a lot of movement, but there's our final rookie rankings, again, for the quarterback and running back position. You can let us know your thoughts and who we're missing out on or who we have in the wrong tier down below in the comments. If you can, while you're over there, please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. All your guys' support definitely helps us out, and we're going to continue this rolling into the season. I don't know exactly how the format is going to work in season, but we're going to try and at least put out, 1 or 2 videos a week, and we'll kind of go from there. I do know that my work life is going to be insane for the next couple months, so we'll see how it kind of goes. Maybe I'll turn it over to Dale and he can solo pod for a little while, but we'll see. We'll see how the format goes. Right. But yeah, we're excited to continue rolling this into the season. We're so close to football, so hang in there, guys. Only 1 more week. Thank you guys so much. Tell the podcast to one of your friends if you can. Dale, any last comments?
Nope.
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us here tonight. Until next time, have a good night.